Hey everyone, and welcome back. In this video, we're going to explore the nature and scope of civil liberties in the United States. Remember that civil liberties are the fundamental rights and freedoms that individuals possess, which are protected from infringement by the government. These liberties are essential in a democratic society for a number of reasons. First, civil liberties safeguard individuals' rights to express their opinions, engage in peaceful assembly, practice their chosen religion, and make personal decisions without unwarranted interference. By preserving individual autonomy, civil liberties enable citizens to lead fulfilling lives, pursue their aspirations, and develop their unique identities. Civil liberties, such as freedom of speech and of the press, enable citizens to voice their opinions, criticize the government, and engage in informed public discourse. This participation is crucial for a vibrant democracy as it allows for the exchange of diverse ideas, promotes accountability, and informs the policymaking process. Civil liberties also protect the rights of marginalized and minority groups, ensuring that their voices are heard and that their interests are considered. By safeguarding the rights of all citizens, regardless of background or belief, civil liberties promote inclusivity, social cohesion, and prevent the tyranny of the majority. Civil liberties promote social progress by allowing individuals to challenge existing norms, advocate for change, and address injustices. Through free speech, assembly, and petition, individuals can bring attention to social issues, mobilize support, and drive reforms, fostering a more equitable and just society. Civil liberties also serve as a check on the potential abuse of governmental power. By guaranteeing due process rights, privacy protections, and limitations on search and seizure, civil liberties ensure the government operates within the boundaries of the law and respects individual rights. Finally, civil liberties also hold a symbolic value in a democratic society. They embody the principles of liberty, equality, and justice upon which democratic systems are founded, and the existence and protection of civil liberties demonstrates a government's commitment to respecting individual rights and upholding democratic ideals, inspiring public trust and confidence. When the founders drafted the documents that set out the civil liberties enjoyed by Americans, they were drawing on their own experiences and politics of the day. Enlightenment philosophers writing in the 17th and 18th centuries were a major influence. The most notable of these included the ideas of John Locke, whose theories of natural rights to life, liberty, and property, and the idea of the social contract, that government is based on an agreement between the governed and the governing, the impact of which can clearly be seen in the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. Similarly, Montesquieu's ideas about the separation of powers in government were crucial in shaping the structure of the U.S. government. More broadly, English legal traditions influenced the development of civil liberties in the United States. The Magna Carta, signed by King John of England in 1215, is one of the earliest examples of limiting the power of the ruler and protecting certain rights of the people, a precursor to the concept of civil liberties. Similarly, the English Bill of Rights of 1689 laid out certain basic civil rights like the right to petition, freedom from cruel and unusual punishment, and the right to bear arms. Many of its principles were echoed in the American Bill of Rights. And the American legal system was influenced by English common law traditions, with principles of judicial precedent and protection of individual rights also influencing American legal thought. The political experiences of the colonists themselves also played a role in shaping civil liberties. For example, as many of the American colonies were founded with a focus on religious freedom, reacting against religious persecution in Europe, there was a strong emphasis on freedom of religion in the First Amendment. Further, the authors of the Constitution were reacting to colonial experiences under British rule, especially issues like taxation without representation, quartering of soldiers, and lack of due process, all of which directly influenced many of the protections found in the Bill of Rights. And the spirit of the American Revolution, with its emphasis on liberty, democracy, and resistance to tyranny, played a role in shaping the emphasis on civil liberties. Drafted by George Mason, the Virginia Declaration of Rights of 1776 was one of the first American documents to explicitly lay out individual rights and influenced Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence and later the Bill of Rights. Various state constitutions adopted during the American Revolutionary period contained bills of rights that influenced the U.S. Bill of Rights. Finally, the colonists' interaction with Native Americans and their political traditions influenced the development of civil liberties in the United States, though this aspect is often less emphasized in historical accounts compared to the influences from European Enlightenment and the English legal traditions. We've explored the impact of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, sometimes also called the Iroquois Confederacy, on the development of the U.S. political system, most notably through its use of systems of federalism, representative democracy, and checks and balances, all of which were later echoed in the U.S. Constitution. Similarly, the Great Law of Peace, which outlined the procedures for democratic decision-making, conflict resolution, and other key political processes, influenced the thinking of Benjamin Franklin and others. All of these fed into the development of the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. They were added to provide explicit guarantees of individual freedoms and rights, addressing criticisms that the original document didn't adequately protect individual liberties. We examine these various provisions in greater details in other videos, but for now, the key provisions of the Bill of Rights include First Amendment guarantees of freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition, Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches and seizures, Fifth Amendment provisions for due process of law and protections against double jeopardy, self-incrimination, and eminent domain, Sixth Amendment guarantees of the right to a fair trial, and Eighth Amendment prohibitions against cruel and unusual punishment. While the Bill of Rights laid the groundwork for civil liberties in the United States, later amendments further expanded and clarified these rights. The most important of these was the 14th Amendment, which was ratified in 1868 and extended protections of civil liberties to actions by state governments through its Due Process Clause. It has been pivotal in applying the Bill of Rights to the states, a process called incorporation, which we explore in another video. But while these civil liberties are formally protected under the Constitution, protecting civil liberties in times of crisis presents significant challenges, often bringing to the forefront the delicate balance between ensuring national security and preserving individual freedoms. This tension has been evident in various periods of American history, and we can look at a few quick examples. The first is the suspension of habeas corpus during the American Civil War. Remember that habeas corpus is the legal safeguard against arbitrary detention. By suspending habeas corpus, the U.S. government could arrest and indefinitely detain without trial those deemed disloyal to the Union. This suspension allowed for the arrest and indefinite detention without trial of those deemed disloyal to the Union. In 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which ordered the detention of more than 120,000 Americans of Japanese descent in 75 internment camps across the United States. Originally justified on the grounds that the move was necessary to protect national security, the order was challenged by Fred Korematsu in the U.S. Supreme Court. In 1944, in a case widely regarded as one of the worst decisions of the U.S. Supreme Court, the court upheld Korematsu's internment on the grounds that it was necessary to protect the United States against possible sabotage and espionage. And more recently, the passage of the Patriot Act in 2001 dramatically expanded the powers of law enforcement and intelligence agencies to surveil, detain, and prosecute suspects in anti-terrorism efforts. But this represented a substantial abrogation of civil liberties, permitting practices like roving wiretaps, searches of business records, and surveillance of individuals not linked to terrorist groups. Consequently, the act sparked national debate over the balance between security needs and civil liberties, including concerns about government overreach, racial profiling, and the erosion of privacy rights. And in the contemporary era, advances in data collection, surveillance, and computing power, as well as the dramatic growth in information available through social media, amplify the concerns over the protection of civil liberties. I'll highlight just a couple of examples here. First, social media platforms have the ability to moderate content, which raises questions about the limits of free speech in privately owned but public forums. The use of algorithms to promote or suppress content can inadvertently affect the marketplace of ideas. And decisions to ban or deplatform users from social media can impact individuals' ability to express themselves and participate in public discourse. With respect to privacy rights, mass data collection by both government entities and private companies can have a chilling effect on free speech if individuals fear their activities are constantly monitored. Further, the third-party doctrine, the legal principle that information voluntarily given to third parties is not protected by the Fourth Amendment, which then interacts with the First Amendment, is potentially challenged by the way data is collected and used by tech companies. And as social media increasingly serves as an important public square, there's an ongoing debate about whether social media should be treated as public forum where speech is protected or as a private forum where speech can be moderated. And when government officials use social media to communicate with the public, how do we balance their ability to block users or delete comments against First Amendment concerns? The principle of net neutrality, which prohibits internet service providers from discriminating against content, is intertwined with free speech concerns. Without it, providers could potentially suppress speech by slowing down or blocking access to certain sites or services. The role of technology in the spread of misinformation and disinformation via social media has prompted calls for regulation, which must be balanced against First Amendment protections. We could go on, but figuring out how to protect constitutional freedoms while addressing the realities of the digital age is clearly going to require rethinking of existing legal frameworks and the development of new jurisprudence that can effectively reconcile our civil liberties with the complexities introduced by modern technologies. But that's it for now. Please leave any questions or thoughts you have in the comments section below, and thanks for watching. Have a good day.